welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, September 21st, 2013. This is Season 7, Episode 32. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
I'm Jeremy.
And I'm RJ.
If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. You can find us on Twitter at In-Game Chat, as well as over on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. And we're streaming the cam feed right now through Twitch TV. You can find us there, as well as join the chat room live while we broadcast. And hello, everybody in the chat room. Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight on the show, we're going to go into, some of the games we've been playing, news, that sort of stuff, the usual thing we do. And then at 7 o'clock, the second hour, we've got interviews with voice actors Dave, Fennoy, and Cissy Jones, who are voice actors from The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead. Dave played Lee Everett, of course, and Cissy was Katja. And she is also Shell and Dee from The Walking Dead 400 Days, if you happen to play those. So we're going to be talking with them in the second hour. Also in the second hour, an interview that I did with the guys from Beta Dwarf Entertainment about their game Forced. We had talked about this last week, and we were able to get on with them during the week through the magic of Skype and get an interview out of them for that. And we're going to be talking to them in the second hour as well. So lots of stuff going on for this episode of In-Game Chat. For the first hour, though, gee, guys, what you been playing?
You mean GTA, guys? What you been playing?
I know, really.
You have. I have. RJ, so, you said that you were going to. You did pick it up?
I've played a little bit of it, yes, I have.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great, so we've all played it.
Everybody's on the same system as well, right?
PS3?
PS3,
oh, okay.
all the way
I
around.
I thought you were on your 360 for some reason. I don't know why.
I don't know why you think that since last week I said I was going to be playing on the PS3.
I know why, but we shouldn't even bring it up. It doesn't matter. We're all on the same console. Largely because you do not own a 360.
Right.
And for us, Redbox, the most immediate way, the most direct way that we could get a hold of it.
Like, I got both from GameFly, but my problem is GameFly doesn't send me... They sent me the games. I just am not going to get them until about Wednesday or Thursday. Game releases on Tuesday. I don't get the game until Wednesday or Thursday. Redbox is immediate. Mm-hmm. So what I do for any game like this is that I will make my decision through Redbox, play it until my GameFly copy shows up, and then take the Redbox version back. Redbox only had PS3 copies for rent. For some reason,
they don't multi-platform a lot on cross-platform titles. For example, they only have the 360 version of Diablo 3.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. I think it makes it easier for them to maintain their inventory if they don't try to pick a title and say that they're going to carry it on both systems. I mean, obviously, for anybody who is not familiar with them, they're just like red soda machine type boxes that sit outside of drugstores and grocery stores, and you serve you up your little discs. It's perfectly fine. It's an excellent way to get something directly. They almost never provide the multiplayer disc. I think that's the same now with GameFly. You can almost never get the multiplayer disc through them, but it's a nice and immediate way to get a hold of something now that Blockbuster is essentially non-existent.
Yeah, I've used them before to try out games that I wasn't sure about.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to Redbox, check what they got. If it's there, it's there. If it's not, just look for it somewhere else.
Do you go to the box and check?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You can check online.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, but you go to the box.
Yeah, if it just happens to be there.
Oh, if it just
if I'm going somewhere, it just happens to be there, and I check it and look and see. I have a thing when I'm trying to pick up my thing. Get on my phone, beep beep boop. I hit the little buttons. There it is. I can see exactly which box it's at. I can go pick it up, and all I got to do is scan my card, out poops my game, and I'm great. And I am invariably stuck behind someone with, like, a kid slung over their arm while they spend 15 minutes browsing on the one that I want. And they're like, oh, you can just go over to the one over there. There's no line. My game is inside of the box you're in front of. I can't go over there. I can't go down the street. You have my game. Just you go to the other one. And they don't understand. I seriously wonder if anybody understands how to use that machine.
I didn't tell you, but here's another thing that'll make you get a headache, was that when I went to return my disc, at any Redbox, you can do that with. As I went to return my disc, there was a guy in the kiosk A, Kiosk B was open, so guy was in kiosk A, and as I put the disc in, he turns to me and says, "Hey, was that anything good?" And I'm going to give it, you're going to have to come over here and I guess get the game or something. And I said, no, it was a game. He's like, okay. Thing about that was he had his smartphone on talking to somebody, I guess, on the other line while he was browsing the Redbox kiosk, knowing
it's right there, man. It's on your phone.
It is.
Download the app, open the app, tell it where you are. It will matchmake you directly to the game of your dreams, and everything will be fine. And nobody does it. Nobody. I don't understand it.
Nobody around here does it. I'm pretty sure, people elsewhere probably have folks that do that. I guess. I really don't know. Haven't experienced it anywhere else, but nobody here does it. So, but anyway, that is exactly what we've been playing, and apparently what, a ton of other people have been playing. It sort of ramped up as it went. We got the first notice that they had sold 800 million in one day, and then it stretched to 1 billion in a 3-day period.
Yep.
Is that's in sales, right? That's not a calculation based on units shipped.
Yeah, no, that's sales. There's a little dollar sign next to it, so it's $1 billion in 3 days'
That's
time.
too much. That's too much. That is peak GTA. That's what that is. It's too much. It's ridiculous. It's not worth it. It's not worth that much money. I just don't see it. I can't. That is a foul and offensive amount of money for one game to earn.
For one game, yeah. Yeah,
and I only say that because the window,
unless you're Square Enix, in which case it's probably a miserable failure.
Yeah, right. Well, we're gonna have to write down that $1 billion because it only occurred on the first day. We were hoping that would be first hour sales, but never
Time
know.
to shut studios down now.
Yeah, really. That franchise is dead.
I know that it's going to earn even more money, but by the time most everything has been said and done regarding GTA's success, as a product, how much money it's generated, that is an embarrassingly wide window, all of which is covered by games, right? That window rather covers everything from, I don't know, there's something sickening about this. There's something really upsetting about the gulf of space, that money space, that market space, that crazy mind share and weird. Like, to us, it's just some stuff to play, right? But if you look at it in terms of money and of influence, right? Over here, like way down, way over there, you've got stuff like, Gone Home. Whatever it might mean, however brilliant it might be, that's $12, $15 right over there.
Yeah.
That's going to amount to several, maybe $100,000, and will be a runaway success for the people involved. And then way over there, on the other side of the moon, you've got GTA, but it's all just games somehow, and I'm growing less comfortable with that over time. I am absolutely not comfortable with it at all, as a matter of fact. And it's just one of those things that leads us to that perpetual joke that we just made about people like Square Enix. Oh, it's just not good enough. This many millions of copies shipped, this many hundreds of millions of dollars generated in revenue. It's no good. Yeah. I'm sorry. And it becomes, I'm not saying that we can't agree or disagree about that. I'm not saying there are not. I'm not even saying we're not good enough to focus our conversation on any one, piece of the spectrum. But there was a time in the not too distant past when that spectrum was so much tighter. There weren't $10 high quality digitally delivered games, and there were not $1 billion first 72-hour sales figures. I remember people turning backflips when the first something or other on PlayStation sold 1 million copies.
I remember that too. I can't remember what it was. A
Driver anymore, or something like that. It was something weird.
It was around that time, I think.
Yeah, like 99.
Yeah.
And everybody was like, flipping their wigs because a game sold 1 million copies. So to get your mind around what the whole industry was, what the whole thing kind of meant, to wrap yourself around it and have a good understanding of everything inside of this realm, of this hobby that we love, was much easier. Now it's a joke. to even pretend that we can do it. It's a joke, and it's one of the things that's made it so impersonal. So I kind of want to retch a little bit when I think about what big business GTA is. Forget about all of this. Forget about the garbage nonsense about the effect that the game's ultra-violence has on PS. You don't know what you're talking about. If you're just now thinking that that's going to be a real thing, we've been doing this consistently for 15 years. In one way, shape, or form, or another. And at least 10 if you want to encompass 3. No, it's like 12 years now, right? So that's nothing. That's not where the real damage is. That's just someone's failure to understand, trigger mechanisms and how people respond to entertainment and what the perceived effect is. Now, the real damage is being done to games. It's ridiculous. It's too much. It's too big. I'm sickened by it. Still a pretty fun game, though. But it grosses me out, you know? It grosses me out.
Motal says that GTA 5 did the same as Payday 2, where they made up they earned it all back just from the
pre-orders.
Yeah.
Right.
And also $1 billion in sales in 3 days. Imagine what that number could have been. That's over a 2-console release. Imagine what that number could have been had they thrown PC into the mix.
I don't know how much bigger. I'm sure there are a lot of people that knuckled under and went ahead and bought a version on the console.
True.
Or did what you and I did and just said, nah, I'm gonna try it out on I'm gonna go down to the to the little plebeian game machine thing that's gonna poop me out a disc, and I'm gonna try that out and see how it is, but I'm not gonna spend any money on it right now. Maybe when the PC version comes out. If the PC version had come out day and date, yeah. Guys like me probably would have spent the money. I probably would have bought it on my PC. Maybe would have bought it on my PC. But that's neither here nor there. It's a lot of money. It's a terrifying, terrifying amount of money.
Huge. And like I said, it's what we've all been playing. For the most part, RJ, I've seen you play some other stuff for the time being. At least you were online playing something else while I was playing GTA.
I haven't played it online. I mean, I've just...
And hey,
nobody's played it online.
Good job on the Castle of Illusion video.
Oh, thank you.
You played the entire. I thought you were just going to do here's a little quick little view of it. You played the entire game, and it's up on YouTube, so you can watch RJ play an entire game on our YouTube channel. Good stuff there.
What's the elapsed time on that?
Let's see. The first video was like an hour 20, and then the next one was maybe 40 minutes, I believe, around that time.
Okay.
So yeah, I played a little much in the first part because I didn't want to go too far because, like you said, uploading it to YouTube is a time-consuming process.
Yes,
it is. So I wanted to stop there and play the rest of it, but I didn't expect it to be that short. I mean, compared to the first one. So yeah, about 2 hours time total.
Got commentary and everything. So check out our channel and watch that. But anyway, we've all been playing GTA. You and I on the ride over, I did not ask you where you were, so I have no idea exactly where you're at in the story. In fact, I don't know where any of us are in the story.
I am probably the furthest behind because I've had the least amount of time to play, and I am the most easily distracted.
I was going to say, you've done a lot more of the side stuff than I have. I've been sticking mainly strictly to story.
Right.
And you're probably the farthest ahead. I've also stuck strictly to the story, but I haven't had as much time to play as you, I imagine.
Yeah, I don't...
I'm probably in the same spot you are.
It's interesting to try and talk about where you're at. You've done the first heist, obviously.
The most recent thing I can say distinctly is that I did Trevor's heist.
Okay. Did you already do the torture scene?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, we're neck and neck then.
Okay.
You and I. We are neck and neck.
All right.
Because I am just about to do that.
Okay.
I got done with the torture scene, then I got the call from...
So I'm probably only a couple or 3 missions ahead of you.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. So as far as the story's concerned, that's where we're at. And
Okay.
where did you leave off at, James?
Something, you can now play as everybody, something, I don't care. I walked out of the hospital about 15 times in a row with Trevor and decided to see how long I could live at 5 stars.
Oh, nice.
I have spent probably 6 or 7 hours just doing that.
Yeah.
And not that literal thing, but I don't think that GTA is at its strongest when it allows you to go anywhere and do everything, because I don't think that has changed significantly since 3.
Right.
I think that it has become a little more brash, not necessarily more violent. I think the violence is easier to enact. I think it's a lot easier to weaponize your character and to go around being a miserable piece of garbage, you know. But I think it's important to take a moment at your first available opportunity to stretch out into the world of GTA every time they release one, to see exactly where the boundaries are, how this particular revision of GTA responds to open world chaos, to all of the violence and all of the driving, all of the heisting, all of the stealing, all of the assaulting, all of the police chases, everything, all of those things. I like to know exactly where I stand with GTA in regards to those behaviors. So at the first opportunity, I go out of my way to do them. Thankfully, this game lets you... It doesn't exactly let you off the leash early, but it lets you off and then puts you back on, and then lets you off and puts you back on quite a lot in the first... I don't know. It's hard to say for how long, depending on how you play. But I would say for, even if you're just sticking to missions, probably for the first 6 or 7 hours. But there's ample opportunity to go around and do whatever you want to do. The first time they put me in the airplane, that was going to be essentially
Talk about
impossible to pull me out of to get me
Right,
to go
yeah.
do basic missions again.
Yep.
I can just drop boxes of guns on little yellow spots on the ground, apparently, and that's more fun for me than actually playing the missions in the game. So I don't know. I've done all the Trevor stuff. I've gone back down now to interact with the other guys. I can now freely switch between all 3. I have not had any kind of interaction, him with the other 2 or anything like that. And I just frankly only slightly care at this point. I'm not overly impressed with their efforts as far as using the 3 people and the different narrative perspectives. I think the gimmick is too obvious. I think it's too available to scrutiny, you know? I don't think it flows or moves particularly well. I don't think it's reasoned. I don't think there are any... I don't hate it. I don't think it's terrible. But I really do feel like there actually was possibly a single good GTA protagonist or antagonist, however you want to talk about the person you're in control of in these games. And he was merely shattered into 3 parts. And they're trying to find a way to have me bounce between those parts. Or maybe they're trying to find a way to have me approach the game from 3 different points of view, but that doesn't work either, because it's GTA. It doesn't matter who I'm in charge of at the moment. I'm going to do more or less the same thing. And the only time any of it makes any sense is when I'm Trevor. Because Trevor is GTA.
That's
Trevor
something
is...
I was going to say.
Yeah.
Like the 3 characters going into the game, the thing I was most worried about were the 3 character things going to work for me? Was I going to enjoy playing as 3 different guys? Was I going to hate 1 or 2 or all of them? With the mechanic of jumping back and forth getting in the way of me having fun. So far, I've enjoyed all 3 guys, and the mechanic for switching back and forth works a lot better than I expected. So it hasn't gotten in the way of me having fun. So, Of the 3 guys, I think Michael is the most like your most traditional GTA protagonist, where he's trying to have retired from the life of crime and gets pulled back in. There's the guy that's apparently trying to get more serious about his criminal career, and then there's Trevor, who makes actually the most sense of any protagonist of any GTA game ever, because he just fits in the world of Grand Theft Auto.
Personifies its...
all the other guys have... They'll act the way like a normal person would, but then when you go out and you're in control of them, because of the way the mechanics work, you just, run over guys, run over signs, mass mayhem and violence that has never exactly fit the writing for the characters in GTA. Not exactly. But with Trevor, I feel liberated in a strange way. Like he makes sense and fits, and it's like a couple of Lego blocks, you know.
His dialogue makes sense even when you're doing those things.
Yeah.
I just say his dialogue makes sense. I mean, it fits the situation. In other words, if you're with Michael or Franklin and you're doing things that you would be doing with Trevor,
You don't see it happening.
they don't have their dialogue branch their random dialogue branch seems to follow a path of that specific character and their mindset. Whereas when you're doing it with Trevor and you do stuff like that, his dialogue is, yeah, he's having fun, get out of my way. It's no big deal to him, whereas it is to the other two. So yeah, I found I'm still not happy with the driving, although it does seem like it's better.
You're just getting used to it again.
Maybe I'm getting used to it.
It was never
again,
good. It has never been good. It has only been something that you can come to terms with. And after a few hours, you'll come to terms with it.
Yeah.
And you'll understand what it wants from you. But it isn't better.
And I still can't finish a mission straight through that involves a shootout of any kind. For whatever reason, I'm going to at least die once during a shootout. I cannot... I guess I either I can't get the idea of what I'm supposed to be doing, which is usually either defend yourself for a certain amount of time and then run. I'll eventually die, or I can't get the mechanics right for some reason when it's there. Normally, half the time, I'll be able to pop out of cover and then press R1 instead of R2, and he ducks out of cover instead of shoots, and then that sort of thing. It goes nuts. I still haven't gotten that. As much as I played it, I still haven't gotten it down. A lot of what I'm finding is it takes me a bit to play the game, go through it, spend time with it, and then I get into that mode of like, okay, now it's all coming back together. It isn't one of these things like in any other game where I sit down and I remember the controls from just the day before when I played it. I sit down and I have to go through the motions again to get acclimated, and then I'm okay with it. The switching of the characters has been great. I've enjoyed that. I cannot stand to pause the game to look at the map because the pause takes forever for me to. It takes a long time to go into
It takes too long to access the map. The map should really be something that you can access more easily, and it isn't, and that's not. It's not really the game. It's we're on consoles. These things are in their
Their twilight years.
We're playing on the Golden Girls here. They're not exactly swift anymore, and I can't exactly bellyache about it, except knowing, of course, it would be a lot nicer to have quick access to the map, especially because as vast and as varied and as, to be fair, it is as detailed a GTA map and as varied a GTA landscape as I could ask for. But it is, to me, it's soulless. There's no there. I've been playing for hours, simply meandering around, simply going out of my way to look for things and to be in the place. And I still don't have a sense of the place. I'm more accustomed to where things are, right? I don't need the map anymore to find my airfield. I generally know in what direction certain elements of the game are, but I feel like I'm relying much more on the map still than I was in previous GTA games. I feel like even in 4, whatever else could be said about 4, the sense of place in that city, because of what they used as inspiration, I felt like I could get my bearings visually. I had a heads-up relationship with that game. I still don't have it yet with this one, and I've been playing a lot.
Yeah.
So I still just set a waypoint, follow my GPS, and that's about that, because Los Santos itself, the city portion of the map, is devoid of anything interesting, anything at all. And I understand what they're doing, and I understand where they drew their inspiration from, but it's nothing like that kind of authentic, at least in my opinion, authentic, livable space that GTA 4 was in. Maybe I just have a bias for the cityscapes. I always did. I always liked GTA 3 the most, partly because it was in Liberty City, and I liked Liberty City. But I don't know. So since GTA is so much about the space you're in, I think that's also part of the reason why I haven't, we're not close yet.
Yeah.
Me and GTA 5.
Story and character wise, when I first got into it, the more time I spent with it, the more I enjoyed the guys I was with, and the more I enjoyed the story that I was being told. Up until a little bit after the time when you get all three guys, when Trevor comes down into the city and they start to do things together. At that point, at least at the point I'm at now, for me the story kind of crested, and I feel like I've just been kind of treading water ever since. I'm not. It hasn't continued to build, and I'm not quite as grabbed by it as I was just before that.
Well, it's still. I don't want to say I'm doing. I don't feel like I'm doing it out of obligation. There are times.
Yes, you do.
No, not. I can definitely tell you in the beginning I wasn't. I was enjoying. I was. To play it, yes. When it was like, okay, I got to do this. GTA's coming up. Got to play it. When I played it, I didn't feel I was enjoying it. I was happy with everything. It was nice. Mm-hmm. All three of them got together. I was still okay. But there has come that point.
When did that come for you?
When did what come?
You said you feel like that you were enjoying playing it, but there came a point.
Yeah, right. Where's that point is at? It was just before. I suppose it was around that mission where you that they featured in the trailer when you do the rappel.
Yes.
Down the building and then do the switching up. It was around there where it got a bit confusing on what they were asking me to do with the switching of the characters. I know what Franklin could do, but then there was a point where it's just like, go away, Franklin, you're done. And I didn't need him because he was put on the other building. Mm-hmm. I would have liked to have had some opportunity to use him through it, because you could switch back from Trevor to Michael after Franklin had done his bit. You could switch back between the two of them, but switching back to Franklin, and it gives you this big noise saying, look, don't use him. You need to go back to the other two guys. He is useless at this point. I didn't really like that. I wanted him to be able to, I wanted all three of them to be able to be used at the same time. It was like that way when I was using Franklin and Michael. When they were together, I could switch between the two. Then it forced me to only use the two. And I realized that it's gonna do whatever the story needs me to do in that sense. And I don't have that freedom as much as I'd like to switch between these guys.
Well, that is going to be a thing with the heist as you go forward, is that the situations will evolve in a certain way, and there'll be a guy that you need to switch to in order to, because from his perspective, it's easier to take care of the situation. Mm-hmm. From the other perspectives, it's just going to be easier to die. So it's going to become a thing where you have to, and it's always, at least so far, it's always told me, like, it'll flash the guy who's, more able to take care of what's going down right now. But
RJ, where are you?
I'm pretty much first behind. Listen to everybody else talk. I've only done the first mission where you've got Michael's boat back because Jimmy tried to sell it to somebody.
That was a good one.
Yeah,
that was when I was still having an awful lot of fun with it.
Yeah, I messed up the first two times. I kept trying to get close to the boat and ended up knocking Franklin off the hood, killing him instantly. Or getting the mechanic down like you were having, the mechanics of you know what to do, but that split second when you have to do it on the spot, like aim the gun towards everyone trying to knock Franklin off the boat when he finally gets on. I was having trouble with that as well. My issue was basically driving. Really, I found it really sensitive going through there now, because I remember GTA when you could like drive with the D-pad on the controller, but now the D-pads were like positive responses or negative or whatnot, something they did in 4 or whatnot. But you can like breathe on the analog stick, and it can like the car will like turn hard left or right. So I'm like pushing the stick all the way up all the way to the front, and then just barely
wobbling back
moving
and
it,
forth down the street,
sliding out and whatnot. So I've been trying to deal with that more than anything else. Missions, I'm not having to issue with, except when it tells you that you have a character who has a mission to do. Like I'm on Franklin right now, and it says there's this icon 1 in his profile. This means I got something to do.
Right.
I'm looking at the map, pulling that up with a long load time, like you said, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, where do I have to go? What do I need to do? Pulling up the mission stat, nothing shows up. It just shows where I am, and there's a question mark for something irrelevant to the story.
It counts those.
It counts those as well. So trying to find that, trying to find my way through try to map my way through the story and missions and whatnot. Try to figure out who does what and who does where.
I feel like I would have had a lot more fun with the multiple POVs, the multiple characters, if it had actually not been about something that was trying to tell me. It's not about how the 3 different story perspectives are layered together. I almost feel like it would have been more fun if I was seeing the story in a Resident Evil 2 sort of way. You know? Like a Leon and Claire story that overlapped, and you can like play it at 2 distinctly different times, and then it would sort of come together later. I really don't care for the 3 active switchable characters and points of view. I actually don't think it's been pulled off particularly well. I don't think it's a hassle. I don't think it's broken or fundamentally flawed. I just don't think it's used very well at all. And I don't know. It's not a problem for me. I just don't really like it. I don't see it as a benefit. I would really just rather be playing one person.
Yeah, GTA has always been one person, one control, one
And
story.
I understand that this perspective is what it is. I understand that they want to try something different. It's clearly worked out for them so far. I just feel like it was more of an effort to find the next direction for GTA to go. And I really do. I am not convinced, but I am skeptical of the possibility that GTA can develop significantly in any other direction. It can get prettier. It can learn to perform better technologically, you know. But can it learn to perform new tricks? I think is the real question. In a relatively straightforward march, ever since GTA began, they have increased GTA's ability to do something, to do anything. And the march from 3 to Vice City to San Andreas was an incredible period of time for the game. 4 was of significant interest because it was that previous batch of games had all taken place in the same kind of generational landscape of consoles, right? Nothing really changed technologically. It was improved. They added new gaming systems. Yeah. Clearly, Vice City and San Andreas were more fun to play mechanically than GTA 3, even though I still think that GTA 3 is the best they've ever done. But 4 didn't really do anything that Vice City or San Andreas couldn't have done. It merely did it prettier. That's really all it did, was it did it prettier. And that was all it had to offer. And now, once again, another full GTA release within the same generational landscape, and there's nothing really there. Okay, so your cousin isn't nagging you every 10 minutes to go bowling. You don't have to go on 8 dates an hour to keep all of the bonuses up from the various girlfriends. But that's nothing. That's really neither here nor there. That's small tweaks. The only major difference to this game, in terms of functional GTA-style things, new tricks that they're trying to do, new ways they're trying to get you to interact with traditional GTA gameplay, is to add the 3 character switching. And I think it's merely... That's, you know, I feel like it's a half effort, you know? I really do. I feel like there could have been more interesting things to do. I think they could have taken a more aggressive path. And I think that having the 3 characters is unnecessary. 2 of them seem completely at odds with the world they're playing in. And that's just, you know, the characters themselves. So I don't, it's fine. It's GTA, but not even trying to be counter to a popular opinion, right? But down at its core, a lot of GTA is crap. The driving is crap. The shooting is crap. And that's 90% of GTA. It's absolutely rubbish. If
How's the flying been for you? Or does that count as driving?
It's no better than anything else.
Yeah.
You know? It's slippery and kind of indistinct, and it's just sort of a generalization on the concept of flying in
Yeah,
a game
yeah.
like GTA. It can be fun, but there is no fun here that couldn't be had in some form or another in one of the previous games. And the majority core functions of GTA are not solidly built. It's sort of funny to watch people flop around when they're hit by a car. There's something kind of grotesque and macabre in a lot of the ways that humor can be evoked. Their characterizations are very good. Their writing is very, very tight, heavily edited. They've been back and forth over their scripts. It's good. The voice acting is solid. That is all good. The production values are high. But at its core, it's brilliant production values and a technically impressive open world. But your interaction is, you may as well be quapping your way through the world. I mean,
Good way to put it.
but I mean that's how I felt. And in the past, it was fine. That was a function of the bizarre humor and the really odd qualities of the game. But anymore, I look at this and I'm just thinking, do better. Do better. You know? And I like GTA. I prefer GTA over Saints Row. I'm not even that guy who says that if it's going to be zany, it may as well be exponentially more zany than GTA. I kind of like GTA's take on the world, but I don't like the direction it's gone, and I just can't really do business with a game that hasn't fundamentally improved. And I think at its core, the game would be better if it was better. I know that sounds like a stupid statement, but I mean it. It's hard to control. You can't ever really do exactly what you want to do. And how is that where we are? Really, the entire relationship, both the media's relationship and
I was about to say, how is that a 10 and how is
And
that
that's what I'm
multiple
saying.
10s?
The fan relationship and the media relationship with the GTA is about its presentation, not about its gameplay, not about the quality of the actual the real interaction between player and game world. You have to abstract so much of your relationship with it, so much of it, and change so much about yourself in order to interact with these games. And I think people have simply committed themselves to doing it because they want to, because it's expected. So that's
Very
that.
possible.
I'm not going to walk away from it. I'm not going to chuck the disc across the room because it ain't mine.
Right.
But it's not that. I'm not even railing against the game. I'm certainly going to play it, and because I know where I am. I know what it's got to give. There are no surprises. There are probably no twists.
But it's got a
There's
lifespan for you. It's got that clock is ticking on its
Right. And so I really do wonder, have we reached the point where sales successes, critical acclaim clearly are not on the downfall yet, but this is all you've got? I mean, I know that sounds incredibly self-righteous of me to ask that of a game that pulled in $1 billion in like 3 days. I know that sounds hilariously stupid, but I have a feeling that kind of question is going to be really obvious come GTA 6. It's like, really? Okay, so this
That question
again?
was kind of obvious.
I mean,
6 months to a year after GTA 4? I know
Yeah.
that we talked about it.
Well, I was going to say, it may not take that long because the gamers and the gaming media, too, because they're, I don't know, largely the same people, have a particular relationship with a game that, when it comes out, that shifts over time, that changes in retrospect. BioShock Infinite is a great example. Everybody was absolutely over the moon in love with it. You couldn't say a bad word about it on release and while everyone was playing through it. But in retrospect, people started to picking apart and
Yeah.
seeing some of the flaws in the presentation and in the design. You know, that they weren't able to see or weren't willing to see while taking it all in, while they were on the ride.
I think the kind of invisible thermal that GTA is currently circling around right now is that it, say it however you want, it's satire, it holds up a mirror to the American experience, it's whatever. I don't think any of that is really true anymore. I think that I don't think it has any bite anymore. It is merely it's the writing is sharp, the production values are sharp, but it has no wit anymore. And I think that the older games, I think that GTA, again, it's not just about being old, and it's not just about it being such an excellent experience itself as the first experience of the proper open world GTA. GTA 3 had to double time it all over the place in order to be what it was, because it didn't have licensed music, it didn't have licensed properties, and it was trying to make a name for itself after breaking away from its previous iterations. GTA 3 was top to bottom very satirical, very ironic, very biting, and much more clever. And it wasn't so ham-fisted and brutal in delivering its message. It was a brutal game. It always has been brutal. That's nothing new. But it's lost its finesse. And it did have finesse at one point. It was wry from time to time. And it's rarely that outside of polished dialogue. There are very few incidental experiences anymore that matter for anything to me. And if my memory is correct, and I know it's flawed a little, but if it is correct at all, most of my best experiences were incidental experiences. You know, those unimagined interactions in previous versions of the game. Now, the designers seem to be terrified that I won't experience every little possible thing, so it's all been shoveled behind the locked door of the story missions. But it's GTA, right? So there still has to be a world of possibility for me to run into. And I don't know. My opinion isn't complete yet because my gameplay isn't complete.
Of course.
And again, I'd like to reiterate, I'm not necessarily bashing the game. I think it's kind of important to look at something this big and take it on critically. You know, in a world where this absolutely represents the top of the mountain of money that the games industry is generating. And all the way back at the other end, all the way back down in the foothills, there's people doing better work for pennies by comparison. So I don't know. I think it needs more genuine critique, and like we all ought to scratch our heads a little bit more about why we are the way we are with this game.
Do you think you will have this by the time online hits? Do you think you'll be hanging on to it by then? Well, you're still doing a Redbox rental, aren't you?
Unless something
right.
fairly magical happens with the online, I'm not interested in the least. I'm really not. And this is, they're not delivering it until October, I think. October's got other things for me to do.
It does.
A GTA Online would have to be a transcendent experience for me to care at all by that point.
Because you and I were talking about this when we were up to the point of, are we going to get this game? Yeah, we're going to get it, but it was one of those situations where we're not going to buy it, we're going to rent it. Because I was mulling over the aspect of just going out and making the purchase. And then I just looked at it and I said, you know what? It's not going to have... 2 weeks is when the online thing comes in. October hits Beyond Two Souls. The longer it takes for me to want to keep playing this game or to want to decide to make a purchase on this game, the longer it takes for that, the quicker that decision becomes easier. To say that, no, I don't need this. I can only spend the... whatever the price is for that rental and be done with it rather than pay the full price because I've got plenty of other games and consoles that the clock is marching towards. I mean, my God, this week, I really felt that. We've said it before, oh, God, I've got too many games to play, and I do. I've got a ton of games to play. Used to be about, well, there's a decision to make. You've got all these games coming out this week or all these games coming out within these next few weeks. What's your decision going to be? I'd literally actually have a bunch of games forced. We've talked about it, forced, takedown, just a ton of other things that are out there that I kind of want to give my attention to over this media hog.
I know. I mean, I'm playing it, right?
Yeah, and I am too.
And I could put it down. I could put it back in its little plastic slip and take it back to the thing and say, that's fine. I'm not hating on it. I'll check it out again when it comes out on PC. And, so if it were only about me, then that's perfectly fine. But I'm also a slave to the conversation, and I really hate being behind the conversation. So I will play things that I'm less than obsessed with just so that I can be where all of my friends are, so that we can all have
I know. So we can have
shared
this
experience,
conversation just
right?
like we're having right now.
Yeah.
And just like we'll have again, because it's a rare situation when this happens, when all of us, and God knows if Matt was here, he'd be talking about it too. But it's a rare combination when all of these come together and we can all play the same game, and be able to talk about it. So you know, I mentioned Takedown Red Saber. That was a game that I was hoping we could do, but just to give you an update on that game is broken. Yeah, I'll just tell you now. Look, I want it to be good. I have praised
Did you get a
this
chance to
thing.
try it at all? Did you see any of the brokenness firsthand?
I did try it. Yes. The connection was horrible. I don't blame it on that, but the connection was horrible. The lobbies were miserable. One game only popped up in my lobby. Clicking on it got me in there, but it was another 10-minute wait as people would join and then disconnect, join and then disconnect. I don't know really. Finally, we got a game going, but so many other people dropped out that it only took 2 of us to go down before it was like, okay, your game's over because you have no more players in your room.
Really frustrating.
It's very frustrating. It's extremely frustrating. There's a lot of problems with that game, but it is a game that I've praised since I saw it at E3 and again at PAX, and wanted it to do very well.
And that praise was apparently really consistent coming out of PAX.
It was. You cannot, seriously, if you go on the internet and look for any kind of previews of this game before it was released, you're going to see nothing but praise. There may be some critiques about hopefully it stays this way when it gets released, that sort of situation, but everybody was happy with the direction this game was going in and was looking forward to it being released. It is out there now. You can find this, and look at Total Biscuit's page on YouTube. You can find a preview that was 4 days earlier where he loved the game. And then you can find his public service announcement that was posted the day of the game was released saying, don't buy this. And just like him, I really hate saying that.
That's a real shame.
Yeah, don't get into it. It still needs some work. And when it does get the work that we hope that it gets, I'll definitely be back we'll stream it, and because we had plans, man. Got Kevin back into this.
Yeah.
We had plans for this. Gonna have fun. Gonna swat it up.
We were going to SWAT it, Rainbow Six it.
Oh. And now I'm actually left saying, you still got your copy of SWAT. I still got my copy of SWAT. God.
Since you're in the mood, huh?
I know, because I was really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
And it's not there. So anyway, we still got Forced that we can play. That's running well, and we'll talk to them coming up in the latter part of next hour. What else other than GTA? Have any of you guys been playing anything else?
That's about all I've been playing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not... I've been hoping to get some time doing other things. I really, not just because we're going to talk to the people involved, but I really... I was bitten fairly hard by Forced, and I want to find some more people and do a proper 4-person playthrough of that. I was having a lot of fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a miserable failure at it. I mean, you're a terrible, terrible burden to anyone you play with.
That video doesn't exist anymore. And that sucks. Because as much as, yes, there were problems I had, you didn't get to see it.
I was really looking forward to seeing that.
I love it. It's a really, really fun game, and it's something that I kind of really want to be doing right now, but can't, am not, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose that's about it. I've logged into Final Fantasy XIV a couple of times and sat there and then felt real bad and then logged out, which I'm kind of yucky about that game right now. I'm not really happy about my feelings on it. I just need to step away from it for a minute because I was super excited about it when it first came out, and it is still mostly fine, but I can't go near it. So, what I really want to play is a Diablo 3 without an auction house.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Wish granted.
Yeah.
Achievement unlocked. Whatever else you want to say, that's happening.
In March.
So we get to do that all over again.
Yeah. Hopefully. I'm excited about that. I know that there are differing opinions, and
Explain
I know there's a
why
lot
you're
of...
excited about that. Why?
The auction house was not a reaction to the loot system. The loot system was based around the concept of the auction house. It was impossible to have the same sort of relationship with a boss killing, demon murdering action RPG that dropped loot. Right. That's all it was. That's what Diablo 2 was. It's very simple. They changed a lot of those things about it in 3. Always online connection has caused very few problems for me. It's a very difficult discussion to have with people. I feel that people who are opposed to it have honest opposition to it. I don't share that opposition, so I set that aside. I feel like they are completely validated. There are people who don't like the skill systems because the skill system and the talent systems and the ability to create very specific builds doesn't work at all like it did in Diablo 2. I actually really prefer the Diablo 3 model. I think it's actually really good. I think the systems work very well. The thing that I could not stand is that no matter how much I played the game, no matter how many times Jeremy and I killed bosses, cut a swath through a horde of demons, no matter how many drops I saw, I essentially was never going to see anything for my character.
No.
I was never going to get that tingly feeling I always feel.
There was never a
when
reason
loot
to get
drops.
excited about the loot drop
Right.
in 3.
All I could hope for is some mix of decent stats so that I could carry it to the garbage auction house, pull a little money off, and then go auction house drop something that I wanted.
Everything else you turned into scrap,
Right,
got
and
your gold, and then went and bought the
don't like
armor
it.
you were going to play with on the auction
I don't
house.
like it. I like
was
that tension.
not
I like
good.
that fear. I like that anxiety when you kill a boss and it's like, what's it going to drop? Like, what's going to show up this time? What is this going to be the moment when something really great happens for me? It's a great moment. It's mostly disappointment, right? But that's one of the things that makes the moment so great.
That's why when it's a great moment, that's exactly, yeah.
I am a huge proponent of that feeling. And the auction house, not its total existence, but the fact that it's a unified auction house meant that if there were really, really good drops consistently occurring in the game, then the auction house itself would be flooded with useful, good, solid equipment at cheap prices. There would be too much availability. So in order to keep the auction house running in a finely tuned manner, they completely obliterated the loot system in the game.
It made it virtually impossible to get good loot.
That's madness, man.
Yep.
That's insane. And it made the game like an empty thing, like this a useless enterprise. It just was blah. And there were a lot of reasons it was blah for a lot of people. For me, it was the loot. So I can accept some of the other changes. I can accept the lack of variation in the environments. I can accept these things. I came to terms with almost all of them, but not the loot system. I like killing a boss. I like seeing loot drop and knowing that it's going to make somebody very happy. These are not things that can happen in Diablo 3. And I don't think that your cherished equipment, that your best possible piece of gear, that your shiny, amazing weapon should come from the auction house. I don't think it should be traded for dirty lucre. I think that it should actually be, I think you should have to pay the iron price, not the gold price. And I am therefore very, very happy that the auction house is going away. Again, I know that it's there for good reasons. I know that it actually solved some problems. I am willing, on balance, to take the game that we're going to get.
Yeah,
When
but
they
you can't take out drops for that, though.
What's that?
But you can't take out drops for that, though, because drops is what keeps your interest and keeps you playing.
Right. Well,
further
they
and
are.
further
They are
along.
not only removing the auction house, but they're actually revamping the loot system.
From what I understand, the loot system patch is going to come before they actually finally remove the auction house.
That is
right?
actually very much par for how Blizzard operates. They patch in new systems before they actually take the next step. It's like in every expansion to World of Warcraft, they patch in all the new systems several weeks before the expansion drops. That's what they're doing. They're going to patch in the new loot system before Diablo 3's expansion drops. So I am not 100% sold on it, but
It's certainly a reason to go back and give it another
hey,
go.
why not? I
Yeah.
can't think of
Already
any reason
own the
not to be
game.
kind of excited about it.
Yeah.
So I would like to do that. I'm resisting the urge to reinstall the game and get mired in disappointment again.
You probably will.
Absolutely will.
Yeah. So, okay. Anyway, we're going to take our break. When we come back for the next segment of the show, I need to give you a heads up on this. We're going to be talking to Dave Fennoy and Cissy Jones, both voice actors from The Walking Dead, Telltale Games The Walking Dead. Just to let you know, spoilers are going to be involved in this. So if you have not played the game, first off, go do that because it's a lot of fun. Especially if you're a fan of that, go play that. And
It feels really bad. It's a lot of fun, but you're not going to... Don't misunderstand. You're not going to be okay.
Yeah. Go play it, but yeah, there are going to be spoilers involved in the conversation. Just want to give you a heads up. Anyway, we'll come back with that next here on In-Game Chat. And welcome back to In-Game Chat, the second hour here, and it's going to be a very exciting hour because, we haven't had, it's been a while since we've had voice actors on. We used to do a lot of voice actors on the show. We've had plenty of them on before, and it's been a while since we've had them back. And this week, it is a pleasure to be able to talk to these next two guests. From The Walking Dead, we have Cissy Jones on the line. And we also have Dave Fennoy conferenced in with her as well. Dave, Cissy, you guys there?
Hey. We are here.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for being on the show with us this week. We really, really do appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having us.
So let's start with Cissy, ladies first, of course, and talk to you. We've got questions from our listeners. We've got questions, my own questions as well. First off, Cissy, have you played the game?
Yes, and oh my God. First off, I want to know what they're smoking over at Telltale.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever played a video game that made me cry like every 5 seconds.
I was going to ask if it has the same emotional weight to you as someone who did you had the script there in front of you. You kind of knew what was coming. Did it? And then you get to play it, and it
still gets me.
Yeah, does it? Dave,
Yeah.
Dave, have you played it?
I'm not a gamer per se. I have done playthroughs without actually making the choices. But yeah, I found myself caught up in the drama of the story, and very disturbed a few times. Disturbed like any other good drama would do. And not only did I cry watching it, I cried recording it.
Totally.
Wow. That's now you guys get different dialogue. I don't know. Just either one. Dave, I'll ask you, how much dialogue did you have to record? How many pages?
Well, compared to most video games, quite a bit. Generally, if you're have a lead part in a video game, you might have 300 or 400 lines, maybe. And those lines would be broken up into categories of lines. These would be your greeting lines. You'd have your taunting lines. You'd have your I need help lines, your attack lines, your various hits and hurts. But this game was all dialogue. A few hits and hurts, but dialogue for the most part. And instead of just 300 lines, in each episode of 5, I have at least 1,200 lines.
That's a lot of talking.
That's a lot of talking.
That's a ton of talking. Cissy, for you, was it?
Well, I mean, Dave was the main character. He was Lee
Right,
Everett, so
right.
he had way more lines than the rest of us. But yeah, it was definitely dialogue heavy. Recording sessions would be anywhere from an hour to 3 hours to 5 hours. I think I had one 6-hour session once. And I was just a side character, so it was definitely a lot of dialogue. And I will second what Dave said. I cried during the recording session for episode 3 with Katya, and I cried when I watched it on YouTube when I played the game, and I still cry when I see it today.
It's it was. It's a favorite of ours. It's a favorite of the communities. I mean, we all enjoy the game. It's one of those things that you enjoy it and you recommend it and you say you should play this.
And as a matter of fact, it's a game that you don't have to be a gamer to play.
Right.
Because it's really not about how quick are you with your controller there and how well do you aim at the various aliens and creatures that are trying. It's about making decisions much like life. Sometimes those decisions are difficult, but they have to be made.
Well, it does the job of personifying a story-driven a story-driven game. We always talk about games that have this game is very story-driven, but it still has aspects that you were talking about. You know, shooting aliens, having some kind of skill in order to play the game itself. Whereas with Telltale, you don't necessarily, or with The Walking Dead, you don't necessarily need that skill in playing the game. I mean,
coordination.
Yeah. There's some parts of it, yes, but not. It is not dependent upon it as far as getting out of the game what it is trying to deliver to you. One of the questions that we had from Dennis, which is one of the guys who's on our show who couldn't be here tonight, he wanted to know the dialogue. Was it recorded as a group, or were each of you recorded separately?
We were each recorded separately, and that's part of the magic of how well Telltale Games puts their games together. We had a great recording engineer who cataloged every line and an alternate line. We had a great director, Julian Kwasniewski, who kept us all in line. And then we would have a writer to keep the context. You know, I might be in dialogue with another character and we're arguing. Well, sometimes you're arguing loud, sometimes soft. And if they forget and let me or him argue in a different volume, then you got problems. And they kept it all together. But let me say this. Part of the reason it was so good, it sounded so good, although none of us got to record together, was the great cast. It was an exceptionally good cast, one of the best casts of voice actors I've ever had the pleasure of working with.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, even though you didn't have to record together, I mean, did you guys ever meet? I mean, how did you ever?
Well, I think that's the interesting thing is, I met Dave shortly after I moved to Los Angeles at an event, and I walked up and I said, "Lee, I'm Katya," and he just said, "Katya," and he gave me a giant hug. You know, we'd never met before, but our characters had several episodes worth of conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And then up in the Bay Area, there's a fantastic group of actors up there, and they try to get together for dinners and stuff pretty regularly. And then, Telltale did the wrap party, and, same thing. You walk up to one of the directors, writers, and you say, "I'm Katya. You wrote me this amazing scene. I was Jolene," and they said, "Oh my God, you do crazy so well."
Yeah, really.
It's interesting because in games, 99 and 44 is 100% of the time you do not get to work with anybody else. You're in the booth by yourself. But I felt this project was so special that in episode 4, I asked some of the Telltale people, "Listen, can we get together and have a dinner? Because I really want to sit down and break bread with the other people involved in this singularly fine project." So we did that. We got together at a Thai restaurant in Fairfax, little town there in Northern California, and as many as could come, and we ate and drank and talked and laughed and enjoyed one another's company, and really because we all felt that this was such a special, special project.
Now you said that happened for episode 4. Had you known what was going to be happening in episode 5?
Well, I was told the fate of Lee in episode 3. And my initial reaction was not good. What do you mean? That means I won't be around for any of the other one. Shoot. But going through what Lee went through, being able to create that scene in episode 5 allowed me to go places most voice actors in games have never, ever gone.
Mm-hmm. It's, I mean, as much as I enjoy your character and what you did, that emotional moment I think falls more for Clem, I guess, than it does for Lee. I'm not so sad that Lee is and again, spoilers here, folks. I've already given enough warning on this. I'm not so sad that Lee is dying. I'm more sad of the position that Clem is being put into. And the choice that she has. By the way,
well, obviously we can't be friends.
no. By the way, let me
I was
ask.
going to say.
About Lee?
No. It cared about him in the sense that he was especially cared about him after he got bit, but cared about him in the sense of that he is Clem's protector, and that she has gotten through this with him through the entire thing, and now she's got to go out and do it on her own. But let me ask you guys: you both played the game. What was your choice at the end of the game? What was your choice, Dave? What did you have her do?
Well, once again, I did not play the game. I watched playthroughs and I did a playthrough, but I never actually was the person making the decision.
Okay, so you didn't make the decision. Okay.
I didn't make the but I probably would have had her blow my brains out.
That was my choice. Cissy, what was yours?
I couldn't stand the thought of her seeing Lee as a zombie the way she saw her parents, so I had her shoot him.
Okay.
Just because that look on her face, even though it's a rendition, it's a video game, but that look on her face when she saw her parents as zombies, I was like, oh God, I can't let her see Lee like that.
Tough.
So
yeah,
I had her shoot him.
And
sorry, Dave.
Let me ask you, Cissy, about your big role for Duck.
Oh yeah. So kind of like Dave, I was told in episode 1 how Katya would die, but I didn't know when. And silly me, I was thinking, oh, maybe she'll make it through to episode 5. And sure enough, I got the lines for the recording session the night before, and I just started crying when I was reading the lines. And I got in there and I said, oh my God, I can't believe this is my last session with you guys, as Katya. And yeah, we started the recording session with that scene.
Wow, just get it out of the way first, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I was like, so okay, let's do this.
Well, in the recording of your characters, this question comes from Kimberly. Did you guys have any say or any kind of leeway in doing your characters during the production? Were there certain aspects of the characters did they change from what was originally intended because you felt that that this is how this character should react and not the way it was maybe written, or dialogue choices, that sort of thing? We'll go with Dave.
You know what? The writers of Telltale were very, very good. There were a few places where I rewrote some lines, but usually that was because very often it's good for being finished just hours before we were recording, and in a rush maybe some dialogue was kind of clunky. But I never, ever had to alter the meaning of the intent of the dialogue, although there were a few times, let's word this a little differently. No, Lee would not use that word. Those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What about for you, Cissy?
I had a few spots where, especially with someone like Jolene, where, an extra F-bomb just because that's who she is, or,
Thanks
Katya,
for the censor. I appreciate that.
There are certain things Katya wouldn't say, just being that she was an immigrant to the States, and so slang is not something that she says. So it was minor things, but the writers at Telltale know exactly what they're doing, and they know the exact intent that they are going for. So very, very, very few changes.
Do people ever recognize your voices in public, specifically from The Walking Dead? Dave, I know you're the Hulu guy and stuff, so you might get some recognition out of that. And plus, you guys have a ton of credits. But do you ever get picked for your The Walking Dead roles?
Occasionally. It hasn't been that often. It's funny. Today I was out someplace and somebody goes, "Hey, do you do a lot of video games? Aren't you Lee Everett?" But it was, and I've been talking to him, but it wasn't my voice. He'd seen me in an interview, and the only reason I know it because I asked him, says, "How did you know who I was?" So usually not by voice, but because the game has been so popular, my face has been out there, which is a little rare for we voiceover types. And so I'm beginning to get recognized from time to time by the super geeks. And we love the super geeks, by the way.
What about you, Cissy? Do you get noticed?
Not really. Most of my characters in The Walking Dead were not my regular speaking voice, with the exception of maybe Shell. But
Right, from 400 Days, yeah.
affectation. Yeah. But I actually do a local grocery store here in LA, and I get, hey, are you the Ralph's girl? Which is kind of funny.
So,
can you give me a deal on groceries?
Sure, you get me a deal on Hulu, I'll get you a deal on groceries.
that's a good trade. That's a good trade. Well, I don't know, Dave. Have you been talked about for season 2? I know you can do other things with your voice. So have you been talked about any for season 2?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I don't think it would be a good idea for Telltale to use me for season 2. I think my voice print is probably a little too known for Lee. And typically what Telltale does are very, very, very real characters. And I don't think they would want to, and I certainly wouldn't want to run the risk of people going, wait a minute, that's the same guy that played Lee. I like him as Lee, but I recognize him now. Once you do something that pulls you out of the game, out of the story, you've made a mistake. So I don't think that would be wise.
And over to Cissy for this one. I know that you are in 400 Days, and we know that 400 Days has some sort of a bridge into season 2. What if anything, can you tell us about that?
I am pretty much under lockdown, so I'm just going to smile and nod right here, but you can't see it because we're on the radio.
Right. Now, but you're okay. So you're well, I know Shell's fate for was it Shell, or was it D? No, it was D. I know D's fate from my playthrough of 400 Days. She got her head hit. She's dead. Yeah. And by the way, that was gruesome. When I hit her, and then it shows her face, and she's got this one eye going one way, and then the other eye, oh God.
If I may, I was actually, this might be TMI, but I was actually in labor during that recording session. So some of those screams are actually pretty real. I had my first baby that night.
But your other character, Shell, makes it through, I guess, for some people during their playthrough. So, I mean, you're going to be playing, obviously, something for season 2. If you're in an NDA, you wouldn't be in season 2. You'd just be saying, no, I'm not a part of it. So I know you're going to be in season 2, but are you going to be used for just one voice? Are they going to use you for multiple, or?
I'm going to smile and nod.
Okay, you're not going to say anything. I'll just not push
I really
the subject.
Can't say much.
Yeah, I won't push it any further. Were both of you fans of The Walking Dead before the game?
I wouldn't call myself one of the fans, but I was definitely aware of it. I was a sometime watcher. I had read a few of the graphic novels, but I wasn't one of those, Walking Dead, I'm so crazy about it, but now I am.
Yeah. I watched a couple of episodes, and it gave me the most intense nightmares. So, I kind of read up about it here and there, and obviously I know who Robert Kirkman is, and I think he's a genius. But sometimes it's just a little too intense for me, so...
Well, it was it can be intense at times. I personally, myself, and I think James and a few others here in the studio prefer the books over the show if we had to pick either way. But when you throw the game into it, I prefer the game over the other two, honestly.
Wow.
I got more emotion out of the game than I did watching the comic book or reading the comic book or watching the television show.
Well, it's interesting because Rolling Stone magazine said the same thing. They said that the game was much better than the TV show. And I hope nobody on the TV show is watching now. They might be. But which I was pleasantly surprised when I read it. But they and you aren't the only ones I've heard that from.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Honestly, I think that's a huge credit to Telltale and their writing.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
They created such depth.
Yeah, it was. It's just an amazing experience. One that I would wish anybody who has any kind of interest in The Walking Dead to take a look at. It's on sale plenty of times, so you can pick it up, real cheap if you're worried about cost or anything like that. So it's a really fun experience for you.
Fun?
Well, it's a great. Okay, I know it's tough. It's you want to recommend the game, and they're like, "Oh, is it really fun to play?" Yeah.
Oh, it's
Define
so much
fun.
Exactly. So, one of the things that, and one of the reasons we actually got this interview, and one of the reasons that I'm a terrible interviewer, is that the guys from Neumann, who make the microphones, were the ones that got in touch with us about doing this interview, and I do want to mention them for the fact that thank you, Amy and the guys at Neumann for setting this up, but. That's the microphones I'm guessing that you guys used when you did the recording of that. We have them here. We don't actually have them in the studio. It's in our production booths that we actually use Neumann's.
You need to get to work on that.
Yeah. Well, I don't exactly know what
That's
these
why you
are.
sound so good.
Well, thank you very much. But yeah, you guys use Neumann's in the in the production of this. I think, Dave, I've seen some videos of you doing other interviews. You actually have a Neumann anyway, correct?
I actually have several Neumann.
Yeah. Well, they're.
I have the good fortune of I have a U87 that's hanging in my booth right now, a 103, a 170, a 102, and Sennheiser and Neumann are together now, and I have a Sennheiser 416.
Wow. Okay,
And
Cissy,
that's
match
when
that.
you know you've hit the baller status.
That's something I was going to ask. You both probably have your own little home studios, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys do any of the work from home, or was it all like, hey, I got to go to the studio to do, or you had to go to a location and record? Because I guess you had to be with the directors and stuff to listen to the lines delivered.
Yeah, well, I did a few sessions, pickup sessions from my house, but most of the time they flew me up to Fairfax, to Studio Jory, where they record everything, and so that we would have the consistency of his studio. But a couple of times from pickup.
Yeah, same.
Well, both of you, I really appreciate you guys being on. Now, your one experience from this, it's not your one experience. You guys have done video game voices. Dave, I take it from not playing The Walking Dead that you probably don't play games regularly or even often?
I do not. I love I'm on about 50 or 60 games and don't play them.
Which is fine. That's okay.
Yeah, I know. And I tell you, it's just been in the last few years that I really got a appreciation for games in the gaming industry. For a long time, it was just one of the things I did. Promos, commercials, animation, narration, and some games. And the gaming industry is huge. It's bigger than movies and music combined. It is the newest form of entertainment, and so many people just do not understand what a huge industry it is, how many people it hires, the creativity involved, the technical talent involved. The only time we hear about it, some crazed person shoots a bunch of people, and it's all because of video games, never mind Aeschylus and Shakespeare and Chaucer and operas and violence that has been in our media and entertainment for thousands of years. Games are just the latest scapegoat.
We would agree with you on that one, sir. So thank you very much. And thank you both for being on the show. We really appreciate you giving us your time. We really appreciate the giving of your voice for those characters. Without it, I know that the dialogue makes up half, or the written word makes up half of that, but the voice acting is completely 110% important on that.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you so much for having us on the show.
Oh, yeah, and Cissy, good to talk to you on the phone. every now and then, I say good to talk to you on the show, on the phone.
I know.
Every now and then we get to run into each other at an event, and it's nice to be on this interview with you. And if I can just say thank you for interviewing us and talking about the Walking Dead game. It really has been a lot to me, and I love the fans who love the game. They've been more than kind to me, and I want to say thank you. And friend me on Facebook, like my Facebook page, Dave Fennoy Voice Actor. Follow me at Dave Fennoy on Twitter.
All right. Well, thank you both so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Cool then.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was Dave Fennoy and Cissy Jones, both from The Walking Dead, Telltale's The Walking Dead. Yeah, so there you go. Again, play the game if you haven't, and it's a fun experience. I say fun, but you'll know what I mean after you experience it yourself. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with Beta Dwarf Entertainment's Christoffer Greulich. Coming back after the break, we will be right back with more in-game chat.
Killer.
And welcome back to In-Game Chat. I'm about to go into a interview here that I had with Beta Dwarf Entertainment. Christoffer Greulich is an employee there and one of the guys there who worked on a game called Forced. It is on Steam, and we had this interview in the middle of the week here, and this is the interview. So, Christoffer, thanks for giving us some time here. I know we had some issues with the time zone. When you're trying to schedule an interview that's 7 hours ahead of you, it can get a little bit confusing on time zones and that sort of thing, but this seems to work out better for you guys. You don't have to be up at 2:30 in the morning to do an interview, and we can sit and chat about Forced. So anyway, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
We appreciate you doing this, and we really do thank you for this. Just wanted to kind of get some ideas of how Beta Dwarf came to be. Now, you have told me ahead of time that you weren't on the team when they first started, but you pretty much know the history of how it all... When did you join them?
I joined Beta Dwarf about a year ago, just a little bit, August last year.
Yeah.
And that was during the period when they or we were then living in a house together. But before that, the company started at a university in Denmark, where two guys met each other and decided to start a company while they were studying.
Right.
And they found some people, because they obviously need a team. That's the most important part of game development. So they found the brightest of the brightest at the university and gathered them together and started work on what was then a hobby project. It was supposed to get serious, but it was always on the side at that point. But it slowly developed, and they started the company in 2011 in January, and by then it started getting more and more serious. And at some point during a summer, they found themselves working the entire summer from this classroom where people started sleeping, and they moved in all kinds of stuff like sofas, and TVs, and fridges, and at some point they moved in all their mattresses, and some people decided, well, it doesn't even make sense to have our own apartments, so they skipped those and started living there.
In the university?
Yeah, in the classroom. Because the classroom was it was an abandoned classroom, you could say. It wasn't being used by the university for anything. So when they weren't discovered, they decided to go all in.
Yeah, might as well, huh?
So they were living at the university for 7 months. Originally, the project had started as a sort of a 6 months development, release, and then keep working on it. But everything just early game development for people always tends to take longer than you expect.
Yeah.
And it always took longer. So at this point, they needed more time, and they kept working. And after 7 months of living at the university, they were discovered, unfortunately. A teacher walked into the room while people were sitting around in their boxer shorts brushing their teeth. So and it was a little weird, but the university wasn't too hard on them, and they were politely told to leave. So they left for another classroom, and and after staying there for a short while, they eventually had to move out completely.
Yeah, that was going to be my other question, was like, how did the university take it? Were they just like, get out now, you're all expelled and suspended or whatever. Did they? But I guess they were okay.
They were pretty easy about it.
Yeah, they were easy about it. They were like, you really can't do this, but.
Yeah. So some of the teachers were good and didn't really bother about it because they knew that people being so passionate about a project like this was bound to give off some kind of positive fall off, and I think a lot of people actually admired these guys for starting the whole thing in the university classroom, and they weren't abusing any facilities in any way.
Right.
The classroom wasn't being used for anything, but according to the rules, it wasn't really allowed, and there are all kinds of rules with fire hazards, so. It wasn't meant for domestication,
So they got out of the university, and where did they go from there?
Well, then they had to find somewhere, and splitting up the production is a bad idea in game development. A project is going down the drain if you split up the production. So they knew they had to find somewhere that people could live together and keep going with the production they had. Fortunately, just at that point, Forst received a contribution from the Danish state. From the Danish Film Institute, which is this branch of the Danish state that supports creative projects. Mm-hmm. So we got the project got $40,000, or the equal of $40,000, to support the development of the project. While this didn't pay for salaries for people, because the burn rate at this point it was 10 people working on it, maybe even more. It's always shifting with Beta, but it wasn't enough to pay salaries, but they could find a house to live in and pay the rent. So they Googled the cheapest place to live in Denmark and came up with this big house just outside Copenhagen. Well, I say just outside, but it's pretty far, in fact, for us living in Copenhagen. And in this house, 8 people moved in officially, and the rest then commuted to and from work. But pretty often they stayed out the house. And that's where I joined them.
I was about to say, so yeah, is this where you come in when they got the house? So are you living?
Not exactly when they got the house. When they got the house, another guy joined us. The guy who's actually the lead designer at the moment. And funny story about that is, he joined the production like 3 weeks before and had only just gotten acquainted with it. And then they asked him if he wanted to move in and give up everything and just move into the house. And he decided to go with it. And a lot of the people sort of joined that way and ended up just saying, okay, well, I have to take this step even if I don't know where it'll lead me. So that was last February, and 6 months later, I personally joined them.
Are you living in the house then with them, or do you have your own place, or?
No, because I had my own place at the time and didn't move into the house because, well, I'd only just gotten started, and then we, and there are obvious. It's a big move for some people, and there are others as well that haven't been living at the house because, well, one guy, one of the co-founder of the company, he has a wife and all kinds of stuff, so it's sort of difficult for him to live at the production, you know.
Yeah.
And actually, just when this year started. The 31st of December last year, we moved the production from the house to a proper office in Copenhagen.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And well, while I say the proper office, 4 people are still living there, so it's not completely done with.
Yeah.
But we have less space, so there's not room for people to move in, even if they wanted to.
Well, how many people are on the team right now?
Right now, we're 10 people full-time and 2 people part-time. And then we have others supporting it. Like we have a bunch of other people that have contributed and are still contributing, but not on a regular basis as such.
Yeah, just when you need them type of situations. But Forst, where does this come from? Where is Forst born? Is it born in the university? Is it born at the 8-room house, or is it born in the offices that you guys have?
It comes along slowly, I'd say. It started out actually originally it was a project called Armies versus Champions that they did. But they decided on going down a different path because they didn't want to pursue that initially. It's something we might return to, or it's something that might be dropped in favor of other things. But they started this thing called Faith of the Guardians, and it was actually a sort of story-driven, environmentally focused game, RPG sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And slowly it evolved into becoming more and more focused on arena-based combat. And just before I joined, it actually had a major restructuring, with actually becoming these kinds of arcade arenas. And at that point, when it was during the stay at the big house outside with the 8 people staying there, it became forced officially. And so we say that while the project has been going for 3 years, forced is more like 2 years, 1.5, 2 years, something like that.
Originally, when it was being conceived, it's very hard to describe the game because you were talking about arcade arena type games. In describing the game, it's like, well, it's a co-op. It's a co-op game. You've got a top-down view, very much Torchlight aesthetics to it, but then the co-op part of it is moving this sphere back and forth. And accomplishing objectives within each level, while defending yourself against enemies that come out across your path while you're trying to do these objectives. So it's very hard to describe what kind of genre that is. But
well, we usually, if we have to keep it really short, we say co-op tactical.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Arena combat.
Co-op tactical arena combat.
Yeah.
All right.
It's focused on co-op. That's one of the cornerstones of the
right,
company.
It is.
And the tactical part is that you make choices before in preparation that really matter to your playstyle and to how you defeat the objectives and the enemies in the arenas, because of the way you choose skills. And then it's split into arenas, and well, that brings it there.
When we were playing it, me and James. We went through it and we're like, okay, we do this, we do that. And we figured out the things, but then there was, we were only getting like the one achievement. I say achievement, but the one goal. Yeah, we were getting the one crystal per room, which we knew you could get 3 total per room. But we were just going along with the flow until we got to that the next to last one, the one with the mist.
Yeah.
And we could not. Oh my God, we tried so many times. And we've got this on Twitch, and I'll get them up on YouTube here pretty soon. But we tried so many times, and then we thought, well, let's go back and get some of these other crystals. Let's see what we can do. And this is when the tactical thing started really coming into play, because we had a time to beat, and we had a certain challenge to beat in each level. And these require a lot of planning. These aren't things that maybe you can go in there and get them on a not a whim, but on a just a stroke of luck, perhaps. But
only in the beginning. We've designed it so that you really should put effort into getting those and should be focused on them.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't. Well, first off, those things aren't revealed to you, I don't think, until you finish the room itself. So there is that whole sense of, well, you need to go back and do it because you've got these 2 things that unlocked, and now you know what you need to do. You need to beat the level within this amount of time, and then the extra challenge, whatever that may be, you need to do that as well. It's going back to that first level. We would go through it, and we wouldn't worry about trying to finish the challenge. We would just get into a position to where, like, okay, let me see if this will work. You go stand here, I'll go stand here. Let's throw it across. While it's going to you, I'm going to move over into this position. As soon as it finishes that, I'm going to call it to me. There was all these different ways, and you have to really map out what you're going to do. Then we would reset the level and put that plan into action, with sometimes desired results and sometimes catastrophic endings. So there was that, but really I had a really good time. There was only 2 of us. We didn't bring along a third and a fourth at the time. We were just trying this thing out and playing it. So I can imagine it might be a little bit, some of them might be a little bit easier with 4 people, some of them might be a little bit more hectic with 4 people.
Yeah, it sometimes gets confusing with 4. The game generally really shines at 3 people, because you can sort of still communicate efficiently and still coordinate efficiently.
Yeah.
Where in 4 people it gets really chaotic sometimes, especially with the enemies and stuff like that.
Oh, I would imagine, especially in the level where you have to charge it with explosive or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how you guys phrase it, but that
we call it the bomb.
Well, yeah, it's the bomb basically, but it's not always a bomb. You have to charge it first, and then anything it touches, it explodes on impact. So even if you call the orb to you, as soon as it touches you, it explodes, and you receive damage from that. So I would imagine with 4 people, you've really got to have some awareness, surroundings of what's around you at all times, and knowing where the next guy is going to be, so that you can put the ball in position. I say the ball; it's very sport-like. So you can put the orb in position for them to call it wherever they're at, so that it goes in the right angle and does what it needs to do. And a lot of planning and preparation, but that's what co-op's all about.
Yeah, and still, it also brings in the whole reactive aspect. Like, you can do a lot of planning, but if you can't actually do the stuff with a controller or keyboard or whatever you're playing with, the plan doesn't really matter. What our aim is that the plan really has to matter, but it also has to matter how you execute it.
Exactly. You've got to know how to execute it, and that's the thing. You can plan it all you want, but if you can't execute it correctly, obviously you're going to fail. And it really matters a ton when you're trying to get a best time on a particular level. That the timing part is very crucial, and has to be almost perfect to get it done. Now, I say that, and I don't want people listening to think, well, that's too challenging. It's really not. It's a whole lot of fun. When you have the right people. Pickup groups for this is probably not the way you want to go, unless you can get a good group that knows what they're doing and is ready to plan. But get in with your friends and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. How did that evolve? I mean, how did it go? How did it go from where it was to what it is now? Where did those ideas come from?
It came from a university project, actually. The original concept was that they had to devise a co-op mechanic, something that not necessarily enforced co-op, but it created cooperation in a game so much that the game itself was built on it, like make it a pillar of the actual game. And in this, the guys in the group at the university who devised this mechanic found this idea of the orb, which was originally a player shared resource to regenerate mana. You can hear the game is completely different from back then.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
But it was this the orb that you could call, and you could wield it and have it on your head. And while you had it, you were slower and you regenerated mana, and then you used this mana for abilities. And then over time, the mechanic was refined and iterated on, and finally it ended up being more of a something you didn't rely on for your own combat abilities, but rather something you relied on for progressing throughout the game. And it was still, but it still retained this co-op focus, that it was meant to be a co-op mechanic. We've then adapted it to single player later because it can still work, but obviously it shines immensely in co-op. And the challenges reflect that as well. The trials change quite a lot in some places, depending on the number of people, to create more interesting gameplay for multiplayer.
Now, currently it's in Steam Early Access. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so people can pick it up, I think, right now for $12, $13.
$12.
Yeah, $12.
€11 if you're a European.
And we have plenty of people who listen that are. So thank you for clearing that up. But so yeah, they can pick that up on Steam Early Access, which means it's a constantly, not necessarily evolving, but updating and revising, I suppose. I'm not really sure exactly the difference. Green light and early access, two different things. Did you have to go through the green light process?
We were on greenlight, yes, and we got greenlight actually just about a little over a month ago.
Oh, okay.
And then we got into early access. It was announced just before PAX because we won the Intel Level Up competition, the best 3D graphics.
Oh, congratulations!
Prize. and that thank you, and that gave us the access to directly to Steam.
That's wonderful. I'm glad you guys made it, and I'm really glad that, and I believe it was Kenneth that I met at PAX. I'm really glad that he brought me aside, because I was just walking through the Indie Mega booth, and he saw me and just said, "Hey, you want to play a fun game?" And I was like, "Sure," but at the time, he couldn't tell me because somebody had just stepped into the last available little station there, and so I couldn't play it, but he would tell me about it. And you guys had the big screen up there where I could see what was going on, and he talked to me about it, and I was really interested in it, and did not get a chance, but he didn't have a business card on me, but he had a card for a copy of the game, so I got that, and he sent me a couple of other copies to put in, so me and James played it, and really, really enjoyed it. And it's one of these things where, had he not done that, I'd have never probably known the game would have existed until much, much later.
It's important for us to go to these conferences.
Oh no, it's great. How's the reception been from PAX? I mean, did you guys see a nice little bump up in people purchasing the game off of Steam since PAX?
Well, we launched the Steam just before PAX, so it's difficult to say if PAX had anything to do with how it fared.
Good point.
And I think PAX is also about creating awareness amongst people like yourselves, streamers and YouTubers and press and radio shows and stuff like that. It's great for reaching out to these people and then getting it out to the consumers through you. And that's what we really found PAX a great deal for. We were at Gamescom just before.
Yeah.
And there we interacted with a lot of consumers, but you didn't really get to the people who could get you in touch with the consumers at home.
I see.
You only reached the consumers that you met at the actual conference.
Yeah. Now,
which was fine, and it was really good. It was fun to see people play.
Did you yourself go to PAX, or did you stay behind?
No, I stayed behind. I was at Gamescom with Stefan.
Okay.
And then we sent Kenneth with Stefan to PAX.
Gotcha.
It switches around a bit.
Oh no, yeah. Because I was going to ask you, if you went to PAX, what did you see among PAX that you were really interested in, but you did not go. However, you went to Gamescom. Did you see anything yourself at Gamescom while you were there that really caught your attention?
Well, I liked some of the indie guys I was standing in the booth with as well. I talked a lot to the guys right next to us, some guys on a project called The Red Solstice. It's a small Croatian studio called Iron Ward Studios. They're doing this 8-player co-op tactical real-time game. I mean, already it sounds sort of similar, but this is much more like an RTS, and you play with it's a squad-based survival game, and it's really awesome, and I can see it go really far. And if you're interested in co-op games, you should definitely check it out.
Oh, definitely.
Aside from that, we were standing in the booth with some of our good friends from Germany, the Threeks guys. They've done a project called Beat Buddy. But aside from that, I saw the big names. Like I was really interested in Watch Dogs, Titanfall, and I also got to play some Killer Instinct, which was pretty fun.
Oh, nice. Well, going back over to Force for a second, when do you think what's the... Obviously, the game's available. It's very difficult to say. Does it come out of early access and go into...
We're releasing on the 24th of October.
Okay, that's exactly what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
When are you going to release? But you're already released, just early access. So October 24th is the date for you guys.
That is the official release, and when we're taking it out of what you call beta, I suppose.
Now, when that happens, does that change the price?
Well, the way early access works is that you set it lower than the intended price, and then you slowly ramp it up once it gets closer. So it's going to be $15 once it reaches full price.
Gotcha.
In a month or so.
What is the how many levels and stages and that sort of thing? How big is the game going to be?
We've got 25 levels.
God.
Not including the intro level, and they only get bigger and longer the further you get in the game. We start out with the easy ones, the small bite-sized pieces.
Yeah.
And later in the game, we're aiming for experiences that could last from 2 to 10 minutes on your first playthrough. We've seen people actually already in the second part of the game, on trial, about 10 or so. They can sometimes spend around 10 minutes on it because of puzzle elements and stuff like that. We should create this varied way that you can have some combat and you can have some puzzles, and some levels are a real and some levels people are really hard pressed to figure out the puzzles apparently. So it can create longer playtimes in that.
Oh no, definitely. I'm very much looking forward to it. What about after the game's released? You looking at DLC or anything like that?
That obviously depends on the game's reception.
Gotcha.
But we're definitely very passionate about doing some DLC for Forest, and we really want to support it because we think it has a lot of potential. And we've already got ideas for DLC, but we've also got some other projects that we'd really like to work on, which are sort of evolutions of Forest and the mechanics of Forest, taking some of the stuff that we've learned from Forest and that we've seen had great reception, and then using that as a focus for another project.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, is what's next from you guys, but
well, we can't say anything officially.
Of course.
Certainly. Exactly, because we're still in a situation where we don't really know what the future is. I mean, we're not really an established company until we know how Force does.
Right.
And while we're really hopeful, we can't say anything for sure.
Well, we love the game, and we will continue talking about the game and playing the game as well. So we really love it, and we really enjoyed it, and we wish you guys the best of luck with the release. For anybody listening, it is the game is called Forced. It is on Steam right now, early access. You can purchase it through there. You can actually go to forcethegame.com, I believe, and sign up and purchase it there, correct?
Yeah, you can do that as well if you want to go around Steam.
And you'll still get a Steam key for it. So just for anybody who really likes their games to all be on Steam, or in that one central place, you'll get a Steam key for it. I'm correct on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
If you want a Steam key, we'll happily oblige you.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Christoffer. I really do appreciate you giving us your time and giving us the game as well. We really appreciate that. It's a wonderful game. Like I said, it's Forced. It's on Steam. It is currently only $12, €11 right now. It'll be 15 at release on October, so you might want to go ahead and jump on it. It's a 4-player co-op type game, so it's a lot of fun. Get in there. You can play with some of us. Probably play with some of the devs too. So once again, Christoffer, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
And there you go. That was Christoffer Greulich from Beta Dwarf Entertainment. Run a little long on this, so I'm going to wrap it up very quick. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Dave, Fennoy, and Cissy Jones for being on the show as well. And everybody in the chat room, we really appreciate it. We will see you next week on In-Game Chat. Good night.